Testing, testing. All right, I believe we're good to go. All right, Shalom Israel, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabakatam. My sister Yahweh Shamar Ilthah Ba Shem Yahweh Shai. It's the Thursday class. It's Priest Officer Kumgwan. It's the ICPK under Commanding General Yohana. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite groups. And today we're going to be discussing, we're just going to do a basic history lesson on our heritage. When I say our heritage, I'm talking about Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You understand, here in America and everywhere else in the world, we need to understand that we need to separate from the heathen nations around us. And it's so heavy. It's a heavy topic that, we need to know where we come from and get back to the origins of our own heritage. So we can understand that, the customs and the things that we do today are those of heathen nations, which do not serve us well at all. And it's the reason why we're destroyed, the world over. So again, today we're just going to read some stories about our heritage. We're going to read some scriptures, and we're going to find out who we are as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right. So first of all, let's get the definition of the word heritage. Okay. So we can get a understanding of, you know, what it really means to, when it says heritage. All right. All right. So this is the definition of heritage. It says property that descends to an heir, something transmitted by or acquired from a predecessor. All right. Something possessed as a result of one's natural situation or birth. Okay. So basically, what this is talking about is, you have, if you're here today, you have, ancestors, you understand, and they had certain values, certain morals, certain practices that they did, and these are the type of things that usually gets passed down to the children or the people that comes after them. Now the problem with Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians is that we have been disconnected from our heritage because of the oppressor, the devil that the Bible speaks of. He has hidden our heritage away from us, and our own wickedness, our own lack of knowledge of the Most High God Yahweh has hindered us from accessing, our heritage. And of course, here in America, I don't know what state everyone resides in, but I'm here in Pittsburgh, and they do a great job of, hiding and making sure that we as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians do not find out about our true history. They give us all types of lies. They tell us that we're Africans. Of course, they promote the Martin Luther King, I have a dream. Little black boys and little white girls can hold hands. I mean, everyone can be saved. But we know that in the ISUPK under commanding General Yohana, according to the Bible, that these things are false. Okay, these things are false. If you actually pick up the Bible and read the Bible and understand the Bible, it clearly states that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the chosen people of the Most High God Yahweh, and we have our own heritage, we have our own language, our own practices. You understand? We are our own people, and we are, as according to the scriptures, we are to be above other nations. And the reason why we're not above other nations is because of our own wickedness and our disobedience to the Most High God Yahweh's laws. And again, Salakia for the mass is just policy where I'm at, from where I'm teaching at. So hopefully you can hear me pretty clear. I did test it out. It sounds like it's okay. But again, so heritage is, something that descends down to an heir. And who are the heirs? That would be us today. We are the heirs of our ancestors. And black men are the heirs of their fathers. If you're the oldest son, you're the heir of your father, and so forth. But the thing about our heritage is that heritage and the knowledge of where you come from and prior customs to, us being here in America is, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding that's going to, you know, have us prevail in these times. And because we don't have no idea who we were, what were our practices, the God that we serve, it has destroyed us here in America. It has destroyed us. So that's what we're basically going to talk about today as our heritage. Okay. So we're going to pull some scriptures, read some stories, and that's what we're going to do. All right. So first scripture we're going to pull is Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Read that again one more time from the top. Jeremiah 17 and 4. Even thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Okay, so understand when the Bible is talking about, when it says, and thou, even thyself, understand that this is always talking to the children of Israel, which is blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Okay? Even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage. What does it mean to discontinue? Discontinue. All right. Let's look up the word discontinue. All right. Salakia. All right. Salakia. It's a little slow here. Okay, discontinue. To break the continuity of, cease to operate, administer, use, produce, or take. To break the continuity. So this is telling you here that your heritage, we're gonna break away from it. This is what this is saying. We're gonna break away from our heritage. Even thou, even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. Who's the I? The Most High God, Yahweh. He gave us the heritage, okay? He gave us our heritage, all right? But we're going to discontinue from that. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies. That's what happened to blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. If we do history, we go back to the transatlantic slave trade. Brothers and sisters were, taken from off Africa, put on the slave ships, packed like sardines in a spoon-like fashion, brought over to America, and put up on the auction blocks and sold to the slave master for the highest price, and taken to the plantation. So he said, even I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. So the reason why this is happening, shalom, brother, shalom, shalom. Today we're just going over history, man, about our nationality and our heritage. We're gonna read some stories in the Bible, pull a couple scriptures. Thanks for tuning in, brother. So again, even thou, even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage. I mean, we're gonna break our heritage. That's why you see blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians today in America celebrating Christmas, Halloween, Easter, Thanksgiving, and things like that. Um, Even the way we, are doing stuff, the way we dress, we got us, we got ourselves, we putting on the suit, looking like the oppressor. We want to dye our hair. We want to even speak and take on all the customs of the oppressor. We don't want to be ourselves. And I mean, I know if you're a black, Hispanic, or Native Indian and you understand what's going on today, you know, it's common for a black, Hispanic, or Native Indian to not want to be like their own people. They want to be like everyone else. They want to, model after the oppressor. We want to go after the oppressor's children, their daughters, and vice versa. Our women want to go after their sons. So we are discontinued from our heritage that I gave thee, that the Most High God gave us. Okay, this is given to us by the Most High God, the Creator of all. All right, so that right there tells you that it's a special heritage. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Okay, so the reason why we discontinue from our heritage is because our disobedience to the Most High God. Because we won't keep his law, statutes, and commands, because we want to continue to, eat pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster. We want to continue to hate each other. We want to continue to celebrate holidays. You understand? We want to continue to smoke weed and use drugs. These type of things. And then and one of the biggest things that we did, back in the ancient days was we wanted to, mimic the oppressor, serve other gods. Okay, and of course we know the Most High God is not for that. Okay, so the reason why we are discontinued from our heritage, the reason why a black man or a black woman can grow up today and not even know, they can't even go as far back as their, their grandfather. You might know your grandfather, your grandmother, but before that, you don't even know your relatives. Okay. You don't know what our, what we don't know what our real heritage is. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see a lot of black men walking around shaving faces, still getting shape ups, just things like that. It's just not our heritage. Of course, we know in the truth, here in the actually becoming the commanding Junior Hana, we grow our beards, grow our beards out. We actually look masculine. We look like men, you understand, like an Israelite supposed to. And we'll get more into that too. So one more time from the top, Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land which thou knowest not. That's why we're here in America, North America and some other places over in the world. And we are in service to our oppressor. We're the tenants, they are the landlords, okay? We're at the bottom of, the economic, and financial, ladder. We've been for some time now, for over 400 years. And the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. So we pissed the Most High God off, by going to worship other gods, not keeping the law, statutes, and commands. We received the covenant through Abraham, okay, and the Most High God, through Moses told us that this would happen. Once we could go back on, worshiping the Most High God and celebrating, giving reverence to other gods and doing, wicked things. He said that this would happen to us. So that's why we have discontinued from our heritage. That's why we don't know, who we don't dress like we normally would dress. Like you see in the UPK, you got brothers, they got crowns on, with studs, just like you see here. We got our pants, we rock the fringes. At the Passover, we wear, garments, with fringes. And, this is how men, in the ancient days dressed of Israel. You didn't see men walking around in, pants that look like, leggings, like a woman will wear. Even though women shouldn't be wearing that either. They should be, dressed in modest apparel. But, this is how today you can see a man walking around with, apparel that looks like it would fit a woman. But this is not of Israel. This is not who we are. So one more time from the top. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Okay. All right. So again, like I said, we're gonna because we discontinue from our heritage, we need to understand what our heritage actually is. Like the great man in the scriptures, King Solomon, King David, Yahweh, I'm Salaki, Yahweh Shah. So we need to understand, we need to go back and see some of their stories so you can see, the stock that we come from. So you can see the royal stock that we come from. And again, to be an Israelite, it's an ancient bloodline. It has nothing to do with any religion or anything like that. Okay, so we're just gonna go through some stories in the Bible and then we'll pull up some more scriptures. Okay, let's go to I'll tell you what, let's go to First Maccabees 14:9. First Maccabees 14:9. All right. The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things. And the young men put on glorious, warlike apparel. I'll read that again. First Maccabees 14:9. The ancient men sat in all the streets, communing together of good things. And the young men put on glorious, warlike apparel. So the ancient of our people, our fathers. Okay, they sat in all the streets, just like we do today. We in the streets, right? We on the block, right? I mean, doesn't necessarily mean it got to be a bad thing. I mean, well, today you might take it that way, but back in the day, they sat in the streets, right? Communing together of good things. Okay, so they were in the streets. They was, in a place of residence, in their neighborhoods or whatever you want to call it, and they were communing about good things. They weren't, stabbing each other in the back, having sex with each other's wives, talking behind, talking about each other's backs, doing each other, doing wicked things to each other. Our ancient people didn't do these things. So what I'm trying to stress here is that, you know, we come from a stock that, we were obedient to the Most High God. You understand? We did love each other. We did have respect for each other. Whereas today, you don't see that today. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we got each other's throat. We want to do all types of wicked, foul things to each other, backstab each other. Like I said, brothers, you want to sleep with another brother's wife, sisters, you know what I mean? They want to do backstabbing things, be talebearers behind another woman's back. It's just all types of things that we do today. And today, what we don't realize is we have taken on, the customs and we have modeled ourselves after the oppressor, the devil that the Bible speaks about. Okay, but like I said, biblically speaking, in the ancient days, we were not like this. All right. First Maccabees 14:9. The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things. And the young men put on glorious warlike apparel. You hear that? The young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. You see here, see that? Headpiece, you know what I'm saying? Studs, you know what I mean? Dressed like a priest, like a man of God, masculine, okay? But you didn't see men back in the day walking around with, skinny jeans on and their hair dyed yellow and purple and pink. You didn't see that in Israel, okay? Now, where did that come from? Of course, it could only come from one place, the devil, you know what I mean? The oppressor that the Bible speaks about. That's where it comes from. We want to model ourselves like the oppressor, okay? Because again, this is not our heritage. So it had to come from somewhere. And again, like I said, because we're in captivity here in America, we pick up these things from the oppressor, okay? Things that would, you're born here, we're born in captivity. We have the TV to thank for that. We got radio, you got Dr. Martin Luther King, you got these lying pastors, all these things, equal up to, our lack of knowledge of who we really are. Okay, that's just what the truth about it is. So, but again, if you go into this Bible, you begin to look at people like King David, King Solomon, Yahushua, the priests and prophets, in the scriptures, and you'll see that these are black men, and they, like I said, they wore glorious warlike apparel. They carried themselves like men. The women in the Bible carried themselves like women, and they were respectable to their men, to their husbands. Okay, this is who we really are, and this is what we need to find out. One more time, First Maccabees 14:9. The ancient men sat in all the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. Okay, so if you want to be a man of God and and look like a priest, you want to look masculine. You want to dress like the men you see in the ISUPK and the commanding junior Hana. That's the way you're supposed to dress. You don't want to shave off your beard and continue to get shape ups. You know what I mean, and those type of things. All right, because the Bible is against that. All right, the Bible is against that. All right, so let me get into some. All right, let's get into some of these a few of these stories here. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out the story about a couple verses about King Solomon and when the Queen of Sheba came to see King Solomon. Okay, so now remember the Queen of Sheba, I believe, is I want to say is a heathen woman. I want to say she's a so-called Hamite woman. So she had came to see King Solomon and see all his glory and all his splendor. And the reason why I'm going to read this is because I want blacks, especially black men, black women, you know what I mean, black Hispanic Native American, to see, you know what I mean, who the truth about our ancestors, about who they really were, how they were revered, you know what I mean, how they carried themselves. Because of course, and if you go to a public school, one of these so like, yeah, right, Con, she was a heathen, right. So, but if you go to a so-called public school in your city or state, more than likely you're learning a whole bunch of lies. You're learning all the glory and splendor of the so-called oppressor. He built everything. He discovered everything. He's God. His image is on the wall. He says a brazier. You understand? So these type of things can be, detrimental to your confidence and especially if you're growing up and you're young and you don't understand the truth. You never heard this. You never heard anything from the prophets and and actually became the commanding junior honor. So you might be, you could be looking at yourself in a depressed manner because you see all this brainwashing going on around you. Like I said, you got they put out there that the little babies is, white, little fat babies with wings, white, white, white in color. They tell you that, Christ is white. I mean, so of course, if Christ is white and they got, Cesar Borgia as, as God, or basically he's white. So, and if you're a black, Hispanic, or Native American man and you don't know none of this, you're gonna, you're gonna look at that like, well, what's going on with me? Why don't I look like them? You know what I mean? And then automatically, if you go to Christian church, you just submitted yourself to that image. You didn't submitted yourself to that people. You understand? Because that's their God. Cesar Borgia, white Jesus is their God. So if you're a black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, and you go to church, you have submitted yourself to that people. All right, so let's read a little bit about King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. All right, so we're going to 1 Kings 10:1. And when the Queen of Sheba heard the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. So obviously, the Queen of Sheba heard about Solomon's wisdom about the Most High God. Okay, now we know that King Solomon, of course, got his wisdom from the Most High God. That's one of the things that he asked for. I believe he asked for a heart to judge his people, to judge the Israelites. And the Most High God was so you know, it was a good thing that he ended up, giving him what he asked for and more. He made him rich, he made him wise. Okay, so and when this Queen of Sheba heard the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. Okay, so she's pouring out her heart to King Solomon. All right, she's pouring out her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king, which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his accent by which he went up into the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. So she saw this black man, and she just couldn't believe, all his glory, all his splendor, how he was dressed. It's like you said, the men in the ICBK dressed like a priest. She saw him with that headpiece on, the studs on. You know what I mean? He probably had gold teeth. You know what I mean? Because the Bible says Solomon had gold teeth, rows of gold. But she saw all this. She saw, his servant. She saw his ministers. She saw, his the house he had built, and she was just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Now, this is not, understand, this is a heathen woman who was the queen at that time, like the queen of the south. But she came to see Solomon, King Solomon, and what she had been, revered for or known for was nothing compared to what she saw at King Solomon. Not only that, she looked at, she heard the wisdom that he had, which, wisdom, outshines everything. But she seen the wisdom that Solomon had, everything that he possessed, his knowledge or whatever, and she was just no more. She was just no more. And that'll let you know, black man, that one of the most important things is if you're trying to track, a good woman, get your wisdom up, get in these scriptures, learn this Bible. You understand? Because a real woman in the truth, she's gonna want a wise man that can protect her. You understand? And know about the Most High God, Yahweh. All right, so it says there was no more spirit in her, and she said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land of that axe and that wisdom." So he was so much the man. You know how, like, in the streets, your name rings bells, right? Your name rings bells, right? So she heard, way, a couple, hundreds and thousands of miles away, that this guy was the truth. He was the man. So she had to go see it for herself. You understand that? She had to go see it for herself. She couldn't just hear it from where she was hearing it from. She had to go see it herself, and that's what she did. And she said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land." She heard this in her own land. You understand that? She heard this in her stomping grounds, right? Of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit, I believe not the word. So she didn't believe him when she heard it, because obviously, they were saying things that they just couldn't believe that this was true. He was just this grand or this great of a person. You understand? And remember, keep in mind that the Most High God Yahweh made him this way. He gave him this. He gave him these blessings, and that's what made Solomon the way he was. Howbeit, I believed not the words until I came, and my eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told to me. So she came and saw it for herself with her own eyes, and she said this wasn't even half of what, what I mean, was told to me. It was way more. She's seen with her own eyes way more. And keep in mind, I'm bringing this out because I want blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, especially you men, to understand this is the stock that you come from. Especially, Solomon is of the tribe of Judah. So this is, if you're of the tribe of Judah, your father's, a so-called African American or black man, or whatever we're called here in America. But we know that, we're from the tribe of Judah, and the nation of Israel. This is your ancestor. I mean, this is who the stock that you come from. So while we're walking around here in America, pants hanging off our behinds, being talked down to by our own women, being looked at as, bums and people that are never going to amount to anything. This is who the stock that we come from. And the only reason why you don't know this, and the only reason why these things are happening to us here in America, is because we got away from the Most High God's law. That's what happened. That's why we are in this degraded state. That's why we don't know our real heritage. That's why we're not walking around looking like priests, and instead walking around looking, effeminate. Okay, I'm gonna read that again. And she said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land of thy acts and thy wisdom. Howbeit, I believed not the words until I came, and my eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told to me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard." So she's saying, your wisdom and how prosperous you are it's not even, it doesn't even compare to what I was told. It's way beyond that what they told me. You're more, you're more wise, more intelligent. You have more than I even heard of. So when she came to see this with her own eyes, she was just blown away. She was blown away. Now think about that, black man. Think about all this Solomon and all his splendor. This is your ancestor. Think about him and all his splendor, and think about where we're at now. Think about where we're at now. Brothers can't even, brothers in the world, you know what I mean, and not that you should be doing this. Brothers can't even afford a goddamn, they want to go to the store and grab a blunt wrapper, and they ain't even got enough money to do that. Salakia. But I mean, not that you're supposed to be smoking weed. Of course, we're against that, and it's unlawful for you to do that. But you understand what I'm saying to you. Brothers barely got enough money to scrape up to do anything. We can't do anything. But this is the type of stock that you come from. A man of this, this man is a glorious man. You understand? So, and this queen, she was just like blown away. She couldn't believe it. All right. Howbeit I believe not the words until I came, and my eyes have seen it, and behold, the half was not told to me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceeded the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and they hear thy wisdom. So he has, men and servants that roll with him, you know what I mean, to do things for him. Yeah, but they're happy. They're happy for serving King Solomon. You understand that? Think about that when you're in your house, right? As a black man, and especially brothers in the world, and you got a rib that's in the world. And when you ask her to cook you up, make you up a nice meal, cook something for the house, and nigga, I ain't doing that shit. I ain't no Salaki. I ain't doing that. Who you think I am? A slave? I mean, think about that, right? But you read the story of King Solomon, right? And King Solomon got maids and servants and people happy to serve him. So this is the stock that you come from. And don't think that we can't get back to this, because we are going to get back to this. We just got to, we got to get back into serving our God, the Most High God, Yahweh. That's what we got to do. All right. Happy are thy men, happy are these servants, which stand continually before thee. They stand continually before Solomon, and they hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee. So understand that. The only reason why this is even possible is because the Most High God had a delight in Solomon. Okay, He allowed this to happen, and that's what we got to understand too. Man is just man, woman is just woman. But if the Most High God is not with you, you know, you're not going to be glorious in nobody's sight. You understand? The Most High God has to be with you. All right, which stand continually before thee, and they hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, was delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel. You hear that? Blessed be the Lord thy God, who delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel. Understand that. None of us are nothing without the Most High God, Yahweh. None of us. You understand that? So the Most High God set Solomon on the throne. Okay, just like the Most High God can lift up out of us out of this oppression. Okay, it can happen. It definitely can happen. To set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. Therefore made thee king. He made he the king to do judgment and justice. Okay, so the Most High God put Solomon on the throne. He made him glorious and gave him all that splendor. And he did it because he wanted him to, be a great ruler and leader for his people. Okay, you understand that? Nobody can reign without the Most High God allowing you to reign. And if you do reign, if you get in there, you get in that position and you don't do what you're supposed to do for your people, the Most High God will take you out of there too. You understand that? So again, the queen of Sheba, the queen of the south, this heathen woman came up to see Solomon in all his splendor and his glory, and she was not even told to have. She couldn't believe what she saw. It exceeded what she saw. Okay, and again, as a black man, this is your ancestor. This is your relative. This is your relative. This is the stock that you come from. And these are things that you need. This is what they should be teaching in public school, but of course they're not going to teach you that. They don't want you to ever gain any confidence or lift you up out of your impoverished conditions and and make you wise about your own nationality and your heritage. But they're going to definitely give you, Dr. Martin Luther King, they're going to, tell you how great all these other oppressors are. But they'll never give you the truth about who you are. Okay. Let's grab something else. Okay, let's go. This is one of my favorite stories, and I'm pretty sure most of us have heard about it. If you read the Bible, everybody knows about David and Goliath, right? But I love this story because it just really shows, the strength of of our people, and you know what I mean, and what we stand for. You understand? Like I love the story. So we're gonna read a little bit about that. Okay, so we're gonna go to 1 Samuel 17:1. All right. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shucco, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shucco and Ezekah. and that's damning, something like that. Salaki. But basically, um, okay, so the Philistines are, I want to believe it's the same stock of the Hamites. I believe it's the same stock as like uh, I know they're Hamites. I'm not sure if it's they're related to Canaanites or not, but I know they're stock of Hamites. Okay, so they're basically related to the Africans. 17:2. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah and set the battle in array against the Philistines. So okay, so this is when King Saul was on the throne. Remember, King Saul was before David. King Saul was the first king over Israel, and King Saul was a Benjamite. Okay, so keep in mind, we're talking about kings here. We're talking about battles. We're talking about glorious events and things that we should remember of our own people, our own heritage. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood up on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. So they're at war. One's here, and there's a valley in between them. So they're ready to go to war. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So there's this big man, this big heathen. Okay, he probably looked terrifying. You know what I mean? He's a big heathen, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass, and he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of the spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine, and you servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. So this big heathen is he's cocky, you know what I mean? He's confident, you know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of like your boy in the heathen in the UFC, what's his name, Francis Ngannou, big stocky African, you know what I mean? It kind of remind me. That's what I get in my head. And they said that he had like with all this war like apparel on, he had like I guess a man or like another warrior that stood in front of him with a shield. You understand? So okay, let's see. All right, 17:9. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall you be our servants and serve us. So he's telling the Israelites, listen, pick you out a man to come down and fight me. And if this man defeats me, we'll be your servants. If I defeat him, y'all gonna be our servants, okay? So this is what this heathen is saying, screaming to Israel. All right. And the Philistines said, if the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day, give me a man that we may fight together. So he's out there begging to get in a battle with somebody. This is how confident this heathen is. All right. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. So, so they were shook. That's right. This is what we say today. They were shook. Okay, they were scared. Okay, 17:12. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. So David was the son of Jesse. Okay, and he had 8 sons. This guy Jesse, and the man went among them from an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shema. 17:14. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening, and presented themselves 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. So he's the father is telling David at the time, who's basically a young boy, go check on your brothers because they follow Saul to this battle. All right. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went. And Jesse had commanded him, and he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. Khan, right? Khan. Like I said, bro, like like if you know anything about UFC, Francis Ngannou, that's probably what he's looking like. Probably bigger than him. All right. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gad, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were sore afraid. So they not the Salakia, but they saw this big heathen, and they were shook. And the men of Israel said, have you seen this man that has come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house a free in Israel. So lucky. So you know what I mean? This Hamite is really a problem. So they saying, look, if there's any man that can take on this big, like you said, so like this big Hamite, you know what I mean? The king will make you a rich man. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna make you a rich man. And not only that, he's gonna give you his daughter too. This is how serious this problem was, all right? Okay. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? So that's Salakia. That's my favorite part of this. When he says that, he's saying, who the hell is this damn heathen? Like, you know what I mean? For us to be afraid of. You know what I mean? He's not an Israelite. He's not under the covenant of the Most High God, Yahweh. He's not one of us. Why are we afraid of him? Who is he? This is David's a young boy at the time, right? And I believe that, it goes on to say that, David was like ruddy, which means he was like kind of like a pretty boy. So they didn't think, they're looking at him like, man, you get out of here, man. You ain't about to do nothing. This is what people think. All right. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so it shall be done to the man that killed him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the man, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. So this is his own brother, and he's his brother hating, you know what I mean? And he said, why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride, and the naughtiness of thy heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Right, right, God, right, exactly. So David's a little young man. He's a young boy. You know what I'm saying? They call him a pretty boy, but he's saying like, man, look, listen, I'll go fight this Philistine. I ain't afraid. I ain't afraid of this dude. This is what King. Well, David, he's the king at the time. All right. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. So he's talking to David like, listen, man, you ain't ready. You ain't about this life, man. You know what I'm saying? You ain't about this. You're a young pretty boy, you know what I'm saying? This dude has been fighting since he's been a youth. You know what I mean? And you are a youth. You understand that? So this is what he's saying to him. And again, I'm saying this, you know what I mean, because I want Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans to understand that this is the stock that you come from. Okay, this is who we come from. This is the greatness that you belong to. Not that what you see today, in our degraded state, but this is who we originally come from. All right, and remember, King David is the same. King David is the father of King Solomon. Okay, a tribe of Judah. So this is our. If you're a so-called black man, you know what I mean, here in America, this is your relative. All right. Okay. He said, and David said unto Saul, thy servant keep his father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. Right? Right? So this King David is saying, listen, man, I had to do a lion in, I did a bear in, you know what I mean? This man, this heathen ain't nothing, man. I'm gonna do him the same way I did that lion and that bear. This is what he's saying. This is how confident he is. This is who we belong to. This is our ancestor. Okay, this is our ancestor. Okay, so Salaki, let me go back down here. Okay. Okay. Seeing he have defied the armies of the living God. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. And it's right, Right, Khan, right. You know he was hard, right. Right. And he just said, look, but see, that's how much faith he has in the Most High God Yahweh. He's saying, "The Lord delivered me away from this lion. The Lord delivered me away from the injury I could have suffered from this bear, and the Lord will do the same thing with this Philistine." You know what I'm saying? This is the confidence that we need today. As Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we need to put our trust in the Most High God Yahweh. This is what we need to do. This is how we will get out of this hell that we're in. Okay, this is a perfect example of that. All right. Okay, and he said, "Go, and the Lord be with thee," and that's heavy right there too, because we always say in the UPK, "Lord be with you." You know what I mean? Lord be with you. This is straight out of the scriptures. Straight out of the scriptures. Okay, okay. And Saul armored David with his armor, and he put on a helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. So he's basically saying, he gave him these things, this armor, this sword. But this is David is not used to, wearing this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? He's not used to it. Okay. He had not proved them, and David put them off. And he took his staff in his hand and chose them 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. So the Philistine came, and he had his little minion. Like there's like a video game called what is it called? Injustice. And there's like a guy on here. He's like this big creature, this beast man, and he got like a little minion that stands in front of him with a shield. So this is basically this is probably pretty much where they get it from. They take everything from our history in the Bible and try to use it, to make money today. So he says, and the Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. So he looked at him like, "Are you serious? This little pretty boy is the one that's going to come after me? You know what I mean? I'm Goliath, but this little pretty boy, I'm supposed to go to war with this. This is what he's thinking." All right. So he was ruddy and of a fair countenance. I mean, he was a pretty boy. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou camest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Man, that part right there, man. I just love that part, man. Salaki, I love that part. I mean, he's like, you come to me with all these weapons, you know what I mean, and all this and that, but I'm coming to you as a man of the Most High God, Yahweh. That's how confident he was. And this is how we should be as Israelites. This is how we should be. All right. Okay. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. You see that? You see that? See, he's saying today, he's showing his confidence now. Today is the day you're going down, brother. You're not even brother, but you heathen, you're going down. You understand that? And he didn't take the glory for it. This is the best part about it. He didn't take the glory for it. You know what he said? He said, "In this day will everybody know about the God in Israel." You see that? That's who we are. That's who we are. You know what I mean? Today, brothers, brothers is the HNIC. They, I did that. That's because of me. You understand that? And that's our problem. That's our problem. We don't want to give the Most High God His praise. We want to take, praise and credit for everything. You understand that? But David said, "Today, when I slay this heathen, that everybody's going to know about the God in Israel." And that's what's up. Okay, okay. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and He will give you into our hands. So that's what I'm talking about. All right. Okay. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran, stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. So Locky, that's what I'm talking about. You see that? You see the bravery of your ancestors, black, Hispanic, Native Indian men and women. This is where we come from. You see that? This is a so-called pretty boy, right? He came out looking like a pretty boy, and of course, they judged him. Judge a book by its cover, but he was confident and he believed in the Most High God Yahweh, and he knew that the Most High God would deliver that heathen into his hands, and then he gave the Most High God all the credit. And of course, I'm gonna stop it there, but of course, it goes on to talk about after he had killed the Philistine, he went back to his hometown, and he was a hero. All the women, was dancing for him. David slays his 100,000, but Saul killed his, Saul slayed his 10,000. And Saul was hating, Saul was hurt and pissed about David getting the credit. So I mean, and this is just who we are as people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. I mean, if this don't fit us, I don't know who else it could be talking about. I mean, but this is just who we really are. But yeah, but I read that story because you know in our time of being a degraded people, and all the hell that we go through today, all the things that we experience today, we need stories like this to understand, you know what I mean, and to lift us out of this, spiritual wise, to lift us out of this hell, to know that King Solomon, King David, um, you know, people like Job, Yahushua, these are black men, these are great people. They did great things for their people. We need to know that because here in America, you can't expect the oppressor to teach you that. He's not going to teach you that. You know what I mean? He's going, use you up, use all your energy up to build up his kingdom, make him rich, and lie to you. But he's definitely not going to tell you the truth. I mean, we should know that. He's going to give you these, fake leaders and false leaders like Martin Luther King and T.D. Snakes and Creflo, Thefio Dollar. That's your favorite one, man. That's your favorite one, Thefio Dollar. That's your boy, Salakia. But anyway, but yeah, so we need to hear things like this, man. This is what we need to hear as Israelites. Okay, let me see if I got something else in here. Okay, let's go over to Deuteronomy 4:37. Deuteronomy 4:37. And because he loved our fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. One more time, Deuteronomy 4:37. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. So this is just letting you know that the Most High God, He's the God of all. He could have chose any people that he wanted to, but he chose blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, and why? Because he chose our fathers. He chose our father Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. He chose them. So therefore, he chose us, the seed after. So we are his chosen people. We are, the Lord's portion. And we have our own heritage. Okay, but because he loved our fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them. So you understand that? The Lord didn't have to choose us, but he did. He loved our fathers, and so he chose the seed after them. Okay, and that's what we need to understand. All right, and this is all about our nationality and our heritage, okay? Because of course, if you ask any black, Hispanic, or Native Indian man today, he's going to say, he has someone's nationality, he's going to say, "Oh, I'm black," or you know what I mean. I'm African American. You know what I mean. Just things that the white man basically told us that are false. All these bad words and terms that they label us as. But and because he loved our fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. So the Most High God chose us. He brought us out of the iron furnace, which was Egypt. The iron furnace. We were there, in slavery. That's the first place we were in slavery, and he brought us out of there. And that's what we need to understand today is that this is Egypt again. America is Egypt again, and this is Egypt as well. And the Most High God is going to bring us out of here too. And it can happen. It can happen. And what did it? And if you do the history, if you read the book of Exodus, you'll see that the children of Israel cried to the Most High God when they were building those pyramids and being put to work by Pharaoh. They cried to the Most High God because of the bondage, and the Most High God heard them and brought them out of that land. And that's what we got to do today. We got to get the Most High God's attention. And how do we do that? Keeping the law, statutes, commands of the Most High God. Getting in the class in the ISGPK under commanding Junior Yohana, because that's where the only truth is. Okay, watch these classes. We got classes Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday, they go from about 7 to 9 p.m. Only here in Pittsburgh, we start around 5 p.m. and ended here around 6:30, 6:30. But and we also have a Sabbath service class. Okay, so this is where you get the unadulterated truth. And again, like I always stress, don't try any other fake Israelite group. You know what I mean? These are all groups that broke off from the truth and started their own. So why go that way? Why go veer out to the right and the left when you can stay right on the straight path and get the truth of the commanding junior Hana. Okay, that's what we need to do. All right. So Deuteronomy 4 and 37. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's get some more here. All right. Let's go to I'm gonna just pull up this little I'm not I don't know if you know you're too familiar with the relationship between Jonathan and King David before he actually became king. But Jonathan was I believe the son of Saul, and of course they were Benjamites, right? And King David was like basically on the run from Saul because after he, took out Goliath and started getting his fame and all the women wanted him, and then Saul started to get jealous, and then Saul, he didn't complete the Most High God's commands. You understand? He didn't when he was told to do something, he didn't do it the right way, and then the Most High God took the kingdom out of his hand, and he was going to give it to King David. So so basically, David's on the run, running from King Saul. And Jonathan, King Saul's son, would help King David. And the love that Jonathan and King David had for each other surpassed the love of a man and a woman. And it's not nothing, funny or homosexual here, it's like it ain't nothing like that. But this is just like brotherly love. You understand that he loved his brother. You know what I mean? And this is how we need to be as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We need to have that love for our brothers, man. I mean, and I know it's hard to deal with each other sometimes. We don't get along. We're not on the you know just we have our differences and whatnot, but we need to understand that we come from the Most High God. We are the same family, the same ancient bloodline, and we got to have that love for each other because loving our brother as ourselves and loving the Most High God. Those two right there, it's about we're like halfway there. You know what I mean? As far as like doing everything we need to do, because if you love your brother, you love your sister, you won't harm them or hurt them. You won't sleep with your brother's wife. You won't your sister won't go backstab another sister. You understand? If we keep these laws and treat our brethren like we should treat them, then a lot of our sins would go away. You understand? A lot of our sins would go away. So I just wanted to read this so you can understand, like, there were situations in the scriptures where, brothers were tested or brothers were, put in very bad situations where they could have folded and made bad decisions, like just like you do today. But these two brothers, you know what I mean, had love for each other, man. Even though, like I said, Jonathan was the son of the king, of King Saul at the time, and his father wanted to kill King David. All right, so I'm going to go to 2 Samuel 1 and 26. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of a woman. So, and this is when I believe King Saul and his son Jonathan they were killed in a battle. And so, King David is mourning for them, and he's expressing, how Jonathan, treated him. He said, "Very pleasant has thou been unto me." So the whole time while King Saul was trying to kill King David, Jonathan, you know what I mean? He showed him love. He helped him. He would, help him make sure, nothing would happen to him. He would, give him whatever he needed. You know what I mean? He was there for his brother in hard times. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to get to here. Just like today, we all go through our trials and our tribulations, and we go through hard times and difficult situations. But the brotherhood is what helps us and what saves us. There's no reason why any of us should struggle or starve or anything if we have brotherhood. That's why, like in the actually became the commanding junior hunter, the brotherhood is so strong, and so it's just there that everybody has somebody to depend on and to lean on for help and for assistance. Unless you just don't, what I mean, this has happened to the truth, but unless you just don't, tell what's going on with you, what I mean, that's the only way somebody won't know. But then again, I know firsthand that the men above me, they check on you constantly, and they make sure, they ask about your family. They want to know what's going on with you. You understand? So they're there, they're present. And commanding General Hunter taught his nation well. You understand that? And it's the only places you're going to get real brotherhood and real sisterhood at. Okay, so very pleasant has thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of woman. Okay, so King David, and this is before he became king, was expressing how Jonathan treated him, and he said the love that he had for him was past the love of woman. Like like I said, it's brotherhood is what it's talking about. It's brotherhood. That's what it is, and that's what we need as this nation. We need brotherhood for each other. We need to look at that other black man and that black woman, and no matter what the situation is, love them. You know what I mean? Love them. forgive them, show mercy on them. You understand that? I know it's a little bit more difficult than just saying it, but we need to really look at the picture as a whole, for our people. You know, at the end of the day, what is the best decision for you and your nation? That's how we got to look at it. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, past in the love of woman. So King David, recognized the love that Jonathan had for him, and King David obviously had the same love for Jonathan, and that's how our brothers need to be. That's how we need to be, and you will find that in the Actually Became the Commanding General. You will find that here. Okay, so lock it. Got a little bit more. Um, all right, let's go over to uh Abraham. Okay, we're gonna read a little bit about Abraham. We're going to Genesis. All right. So we're bringing up our history, our true history, our nationality, our heritage, where these things start at. Great men, what I mean, in our nation, and this is to build our confidence in each other and in who we are as Israelites, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. So we're going to Genesis 17:1. And when Abraham was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to him, to Abram. He wasn't even called Abraham yet, he was called Abram, and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Okay, that's Abraham. He's a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful. And listen to this, 17:6. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. You hear that, black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man? I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. See, that's the Most High God. You know what I mean? He makes kings come out of Abraham's loins, okay? And I will give unto thee, unto thy seed after thee, the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. So he's telling them right there that I'm going to make you the fruit of your loins is going to be, it's going to exceed. You're going to have, kings come out of you. Kings are going to come out of you, and I'm going to give you this land, the land of Israel. You know what I mean? Where the Canaanites dwelt before us, but then the Lord gave us that land. So this is the stock that we come from. Okay, this is the stock that we come from. And the Most High God loves Israel. You understand? He loves His people. He loves His heritage. He loves us. The problem is, we have forgotten our God and the lack of knowledge of our God. That's what the problem is. But the brotherhood is something that we all need to understand and we need to get back to, especially today because of the oppression that we face from the oppressor. Especially today because we are all we got. We are all we got. I mean, if you look around any state, any town, borough, whatever, the so-called black man is being murdered by police, being just treated, and their sisters too. You know what I mean? We've just been treated, worse than any other people. Okay, and that's because these heathens are in powerful positions in these cities, boroughs, these towns, and whatnot, and they know that we are the children of the Most High God. So they can't afford for us to understand our heritage. They don't want us to ever show brotherhood and sisterhood to each other, and they don't ever want us to come together. But like I said again, and Ashley became the commanding junior Hana, you get in these classes, you'll find out the truth about who you really are. You'll begin to understand what brotherhood really is. Okay, you'll find out things that that you've been the answers to the questions you've been asking all your life. You'll find them out here. And like again, I can't stress enough that don't even turn towards a fake Israelite group. Stay away from the Christian churches. I'm pretty sure you know that by now. I mean, from when they were closed down during the coronavirus. You know what I mean? Muslim mosques, uh, all that stuff. The Hotep community, none of it. The Asher became the commanding junior Hana. And with that, I'm gonna close out the class today. And again, it's the Asher became the commanding junior Hana, so at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And again, we have these classes Monday to Friday, pretty much 7 to 9, pretty much every day. But here in Pittsburgh, we start around 5 and then at around 6:30. And with that, I'm gonna say shalom.